This video will be a little different from our usual style. 1 year ago, we started this channel and agreed to give ourselves a full year of regular YouTube posting, after which we'd decide if we would continue the channel or not. By the end of this video, we'll be deciding if this will be the last video for Legendary Tactics. I'm here with Cax and NATO, and today we're going to give you a little behind-the-scenes peek into the inner workings of our channel. We're going to look at our successes, our failures, and our channel philosophy. Happy anniversary, lads.
Thanks, Flash.
It's decision day.
Perfect. Well, before we make that decision, I'd like to visit where we came from, why we make videos the way we do, chat with you guys about what's been going on and what's been working, what hasn't. NATO, why don't we start with you? So how did this project begin?
Well, the the channel idea came from you, Flash. I'm not sure what prompted it, other than the fact it might have been an idea for a COVID project, and we started out just by featuring League of Legends Teamfight Tactics, which is actually where our name comes from. We combined the League of Legends with Teamfight Tactics, and that's where it came from. And then, we just originally you were dragging Cax and I along, but then I think we found our own passions, that we were able to, the creative we were able to turn the channel into a creative outlet for us and do stuff that we wanted to do.
You prompted us in that direction because, as you say, Cax and I were very focused on, we were just playing a lot of Teamfight Tactics, and then you randomly posted, was it Labyrinth?
Yeah, basically Labyrinth. Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
And that was something we always had in the back of our minds too, that we thought, like, let's keep this open to whatever games we're playing, then we can use that for the channel.
Yes, and I've never been the biggest fan of Teamfight Tactics, so I was happy to post other content, and it happened to take off a little bit, at least by the standards of the day. And so that caught our attention, and then eventually we gave up on the Teamfight Tactics angle, and we went more into the digital ports of board games.
Absolutely. Cax, are you surprised with where we've ended up based on our beginning?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was. I was really the metamorphosis of the channels. What's really surprised me because, yeah, as you said, we started out with Legendary Tactics, League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, and then this Nate. Total tip of the cap to you because it was that first Labyrinth video that really kind of spun us in a new direction, and I just love that we're just doing stuff we would be doing normally anyways, and just having a lot of fun with it, and just sharing our thoughts and insights with it. So it's kind of a neat chance for us to showcase our board games.
Absolutely.
Flash, what's your biggest surprise?
Actually, for me, I think it's the way we define success has changed over the course of the channel, and I think it's really important. This is an idea for all content creators. In our first month, we used to be incredibly happy with 100 hits in a day, and that was awesome, and for the time it was wonderful. If we got 100 hits today, we'd be like, oh man, what did we do wrong? But I think as we've grown, our benchmarks keep growing, but I think they're always realistic too, so now we're really pleased if we get 3,000 or 4,000 hits in a day. But what I love about the channel is that it always feels like we're doing better than the day before, and I really like constantly being surprised. And for me, success isn't necessarily likes or hits. Those don't concern me anymore. It's more engagement from the community, and it's having people who just really enjoy the content. That to me is success. But NATO, what's a success that's caught you off guard this year?
Yeah, do you mean a successful video or just
anything? What have you felt really good about on the channel?
Well, I've been very surprised at the response for a game like Diplomacy. I mean, and also to a lesser extent, and we got to return to these, but an older Avalon Hill title of Midway, which has done quite well for us. It's been very surprising, and I think we got to follow up on that more in our second year if we decide to keep this going. But the idea of having this game that's from the 60s, I think, what was it, 68, 69 when Diplomacy was first released, or was it in the 50s? I can't remember, but it's an old game. It's an old game, and you think, oh well, that's who's going to want to watch video content on that, and at the moment that's the video series that's doing the best for us.
That's right, and 1959 was the year.
Yeah, and I mean
Wow.
even and Midway I think was in '62, and so it's really interesting to see that there's still demand for video content on these games, and then of course we feature some newer stuff as well. But even you look at a game like Twilight Struggle, which is 15, 16 years old at this point. It's not new, certainly. I mean, it's popular still, but it's not new. And so I'm kind of, that was really something that caught me off guard, was the fact that these older games could really generate a lot of interest.
Very cool. How about you, Cax? What was the success that you enjoyed?
Well, I think for me, it's the uncertainty of every video we put out. We just never know which one's going to, hit gold, or is it going to maybe just come out a little flatter than we anticipated it would. And our thoughts necessarily don't always translate to views on the video. So ones we think will soar sometimes don't, and then on the other hand, it's ones we think and then they do really well. So you really never know. I love that uncertainty with everything you put out. How about you guys?
I think in the first 2 to 3 months of the channel, I was at a state of mind where I thought that a video would just blow up and get a huge amount of hits, because I didn't really realize that our styles of videos didn't really fit that model. So Nate, you got me into the concept of more evergreens and thinking about them as things that will produce over time, but not necessarily all immediately. Like you see all these viral videos going up, and I think sometimes you get looking at other people's channels and comparing yourself, and I don't know if that's very productive. So once I got over the feeling that every video was underperforming, and then when I started to just focus on making every video as good as I possibly could without worrying about hits, that's when I really started to have the most fun. How about you, Nate?
Yeah. Well, it's like that insight. I can't remember where I got it. Where you make videos for people, not for an algorithm, right?
That's right. And for a single person that you're thinking of, or like, who would like this video? And most of the time, sometimes I'll make a video for you, Nate, or one for you, Cax, with you in mind, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
And I think it's totally fine to make a video for yourself, in the sense that don't make it a vanity project, but make it a video that, man, if I came across this, I would probably watch it. Like if someone else did something similar, I'd probably watch it.
Yeah. That's content that would intrigue you as a viewer, right? Yes, 100%.
Yeah. No, I think what could we have done better at? I don't know. I mean, I think that we learned fairly quickly, and we were open to the change. I think that was important, because like with the team fight tactics, I mean, if we tried that for a while and it didn't work, but we were all open to making the change. So I think that could we have picked things up a little bit faster? Maybe. Is that something maybe we could have done better at? Possibly, but in terms of growing our social media presence, or all the other things. But I think it's just a matter of growth, and you have to just kind of work with where you're at and do the best you can and get better every day.
I'm sure glad we did, because I much prefer making videos on diplomacy and root and wingspan than on teamfight tactics. So
yes, can you imagine if it was a year later and we're still doing teamfight tactics? I mean, I appreciate that there are people out there that love a given game and they play it all the time, and they do video content exclusively. But I don't have that kind of attention span. I need to change it up.
Well, and this is something that people might suggest, like if we wanted to improve our views or all of that stuff, that we should probably focus the channel more. But I personally like that we're generalists. We're board game specialists and strategy specialists, but we're generalists in the sense that we'll accept and do content on really any game that's interesting us, and hopefully by extension is of interest to some of our viewers too.
Yeah. So we should probably take a look behind the dashboard to see what kind of statistics we generated this year. So we'll just start maybe with the overview. I'll just start off on that. Now, I'm not sure how many people are really familiar with the analytics, but the analytics are kind of fun. Like because sports was interrupted last year, we didn't have the opportunity to do a baseball pool or whatever. I found this was my fantasy baseball league, kind of substitute.
Statistical, substitute, eh?
Was just watching, yeah. I mean, and we kind of hit. You can actually see a few different kind of plateaus. You can see that initial stage where we took from March until June before we started getting any real traction. And we were putting out videos, and they were fairly regular, but it just wasn't really catching on. I mean, we felt great about them at the time, but in the big picture, it wasn't very impressive.
Well, and then, actually, just while you're right there, I have to say, I bet a lot of content creators, say around June when we were still sort of flatlining, I bet that's where a lot would bail on a project like this, because that took an incredible amount of energy to put all of that in, and sometimes feel like if you're making it for
to see
someone
very little
else,
return on
and
it,
to
right?
see little
Little
returns,
return.
I could see people bailing, but we were at that point doing it for ourselves, I think, and so that I think is what
I think I got you guys to commit to a year.
That's right, you did.
At some point,
Right.
I don't remember when we had the conversation, but there was a conversation at some point, probably in maybe April or May or something, where I said you were kind of upset about the views that the videos hadn't taken off. I said, well, dudes, we got to do this for a year, and then we'll decide.
That's right.
And I could literally hear your jaws hit the floor, and you're like, a year? We got to do this for a year before we see if it's working. I'm like, yeah, that's how business works. So, and then and then the Imperial Struggle How to Play came out, which was really, I think, not only a game changer in terms of our views and all that sort of thing, but also in our mindset, because suddenly we could see a video kind of take off and get a lot of traction, and through the summer months, Imperial Struggle really kind of powered the channel overall. But I think it really changed our mindset, where suddenly we were not happy with 100 views in a day. We wanted 600, 700, 800 in a day. It just changed our mindset.
That's also where we started looking up, like, oh, how many hours do you need? 4,000 hours to monetize, or
1,000 subs.
How many subs do you need? And we started actually looking at those. And at that point, we probably only had about 200 subscribers or something too, right? Maybe 150. Yeah. And so, that was a pretty lofty goal to have at that point. But I think it's these goals that help get us through.
At the end of June, we had... well, it's tough to say, because we did get a lot of the Imperial Struggle came out towards the end of the month, and we did get a lot of subscribers. But basically at the end of June, we had 155 subscribers at that point.
Right. Yeah.
When that came out. But then we started getting some momentum there, and we got our watch hours done, basically.
Yeah, very early because of that Imperial Struggle, yes.
And we've never had to worry about watch hours. I mean, after our first year...
That's not a problem for us.
After our first year, we finished with 20,000 watch hours. YouTube requires 4,000 for any sort of
monetization. And it wasn't even a full year.
Yeah, no, we got there, and it really happened pretty quick, but... Yeah. Once we got that video, because the Imperial Struggle How to Play was an hour and 10 minutes long, and so if anyone watched it, all the way through to learn how to play, then it was a big deal. And then after that, we had a brief time when we really focused on subscribers, because we needed to get over 1,000. And then once we were there, now I find we're it's much more. We can
focus on content now.
Yeah, we can focus on content, because it was a big deal to get to the point of getting the subscribers and the watch hours and everything. But once you're there, and I'd just say this for a new creator, like, obviously get there, do what you got to do to get there. But then after that, know that you don't have to stress about it, the subscribers and all that stuff.
And it is a slog. It is a slog. It's a tough uphill battle, but if you're willing to stick it out, then you do start to reap the rewards.
YouTube does benefit people who stay on YouTube for a longer time in terms of content creators. The longer people are on, I mean, regardless of how much or what the quality of the content is, you're going to continue to get new people coming to your channel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we hit a plateau beginning in July, basically, where the channel was doing, I think it grew every month, but pretty much, but it was kind of, it hit a flat line basically until Christmas Eve, oddly, and it jumped up from there, and we hit another plateau. It lasted until early February, and then we've been on another new plateau just basically in the last couple weeks. So and it doesn't seem to be subsiding, which is great. It seems like once you get to a certain size, as long as you're putting out the content and you're continuing to
momentum keeps carrying you.
Feed the fire. The momentum begins to really carry it. And,
the famed YouTube algorithm took notice.
I guess so, yeah. But but I'll tell you, the nice thing is that now that we, at least, you know, based on the channel history, now that we feel like we've got some real traction, we've got like 350 videos for people to enjoy. You know, it's not like if they like us, then they've got a lot of content to get through. And I like that, because I feel like, you know, if we'd had a hit video right away and that was the only thing we got, you know, we had, you know, 1 of 10 videos, one of which did really well, I think it'd be very hard to duplicate that. Like,
That's
I think
right,
that,
yes.
you know, the way that we did it was, it was a slog. Well, you say a slog, but we basically had to play games with each other. And
Yeah, it's painful to be forced to play with you two.
yeah, exactly. So it's a slog in some ways, but, you know, at least the way we did it.
Oh, I was talking
it was
about
more
digging
fun.
up the subs and
Yeah.
working behind the scenes on all the other platforms we use. So
Yeah, we definitely tried to hit all the social media platforms as well, and I think that's something that we have done reasonably well, is building up some social media presence, and I think that's certainly helpful for the creators that do want to accelerate the growth of the channel. If we just let it grow on its own and we only did the YouTube content without some sort of, you know, promotion on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, I think it would have just taken longer.
That's right. We can get into that when we hit our audience tab.
Yeah.
Should we switch over to the reach now,
Yeah.
Cax?
Yeah, Cax, tell us about our reach and what you're seeing
yeah,
there.
so in the reach, the first thing that blows me away is after a year we have over 2 million impressions. That's just I kind of, my jaw drops still. I'm like, what? And so that's pretty amazing, and over 200,000 views. But I know one of the things that we've often talked about is the click-through rate, and we've really tried to keep to have a goal of about 5%. So we're just shy of that right now, 4.7, but we're in the ballpark. So.
And I think recently our click-through rate is much higher than it was early in the channel, because we've learned how to do proper thumbnails and we've got a style for our thumbnails. So I think that number is on the rise.
Yeah, you guys we were just talking about other platforms, and if the traffic source token icon is kind of interesting for that as well, because you've got Google at 25%, you've got Board Game Geek at 25%, you've got Reddit at 17%. So we've kind of spread out into different those different avenues are paying off in views. So that's kind of the end traffic, which is kind of cool. Suggested videos, we've got a lot of different suggested video options there as well, with diplomacy, and we've got Imperial Struggle in there. Traffic sources for YouTube searches. We've got Catan leading the way, and Imperial Struggle and diplomacy, and we've tried to really branch out, and it's showing in the different avenues that we're getting views with and searches on.
It's interesting, actually, in the traffic sources for suggested videos, there's only one of those that's not our own video suggesting our videos. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But
so how about you, Flash, with engagement?
Sure, yeah. So engagement is measured mostly in the watch time. We have 22,000 hours of watch time, which some of these numbers seem ridiculous to me, because I wonder, like, why are people watching our content for this long? But I mean, I look at your content too, and I really love what you guys are doing on the channel, and so for that reason, I understand why people are engaged, especially with your material. But so if we take a look down at key moments in retention, some of these are really interesting too. So this is how many people are still watching at the 30-second mark, and so Nate, your Twilight Struggle videos are really keeping people engaged, and the root videos are doing quite well on that. And we've got a diplomacy there, and All Bridges Burning, that's one of the newer ones too. So, and we move down to top videos. So in our first year, Imperial Struggle for watch time is our champion. Catan number 2, Imperial Struggle playthrough, then a couple of diplomacy videos in there. So the rest of the stats, I think, speak for themselves. The playlists are interesting in terms of watch time. Diplomacy did it this time. Twilight Struggle's up there. Some of our
Imperial
military
Struggle also had a 6-hour game.
That's
6-hour
right. Yeah.
playthrough.
That's true. That took a chunk of time.
And we didn't use a lot of cards, but for some reason, Diplomacy Art of the Stab, the cards in that really drove traffic. So it's mostly the diplomacy ones where the cards are taking from one video and sending people to another video. But so why don't we move to audience? NATO, do you want to cover that?
Yeah, sure. The audience, interestingly, we seem to be a lunch hour show.
Yes.
When you look at the analytics are really nice to just glance through once in a while, like to see where the views are. But we appear to be a lunchtime show. Our views basically begin to pick up around 10 in the morning, and they're strong, relatively strong to 2-3 in the afternoon, and then they drop off. Typically overnight and anytime. And when you look at the demographic. We have the vast majority of our audience is between 25 and 44, so they're probably parents who have to get the kids to bed and whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But it's interesting because we have a very solid, chunk of the audience. Basically, it's 95% of our audience is between the ages of 18 and 54. And we've only got very few youngins and very few seniors, and very overwhelmingly male, which we're up to 4.4% female. We'd like to increase that, but I've been seeing some promising numbers in recent. I think over the last month, I think we've added like 6% female subscribers, which is great because it'd be great to have 50-50, but. Anyway, I'm not surprised given some of the content, the war game content and so forth that we do. Yeah. It's traditionally, anyway, I'm kind of more of interest to males.
Right. In the United States is leading the way by far.
Yes. And, our native Canada is not doing too bad in the UK. And surprisingly, places like Venezuela or,
Yeah, Germany and Australia. Australia, I think diplomacy is fairly big and down under.
Yeah, I mean, we do okay in the Netherlands and Sweden and those kind of places as well. But I mean, mainly it's U.S., Canada, the U.K. are them.
What's really surprising to me on this particular tab is the other channels that our audience watches, which is Dice Tower, Shut Up and Sit Down, Watch It Played, big time channels. And so it's kind of it's humbling to be in the same conversation as those channels.
Yeah, for sure.
We might not show up in their feed quite the way they show up in ours, though.
Very true. But still, the fact that they're that we're still in that we're in the conversation. That's at least according to YouTube. It's kind of neat.
Yeah. What videos did you guys enjoy making the most this year?
I really enjoyed Nate our playthroughs. Our Twilight Struggle playthroughs, any playthrough really. To be honest, that's where I have my most fun on this channel is getting down to on the tabletop and firing up the game. So any of the playthroughs, Twilight Struggle, Root, Wingspan, those are just a few off the top of my head that I've just really enjoyed those parts. We just did a Survive video, which was a lot of fun too. I did terrible, but that's okay.
So, we gotta have a rematch. We messed up some of the rules on that one. We gotta have a rematch.
Which playthrough are you looking forward to most next, Cax?
The Frosthaven one will be kind of. I'm looking forward to getting going on that one and trying that one out when it gets fully released on tabletop or wherever we can get it.
Churchill.
Nice. Yes. Yeah, I really.
Churchill's on our to-do list. Yes.
PAX Pamir is one that I'm really looking forward to. I want to try that.
Yeah, nice.
But cool. So I'd actually say there's 3 games that I've really enjoyed making content on. So the strategy guides for Root, like the Vagabond, that was a lot of fun. Making the Wingspan strat guide and playing the play-by-plays with UCAX, I really enjoyed those. And the Diplomacy series is my personal passion. So it's been a lot of fun connecting with that community, meeting some really exceptional players. But yeah, if I had to pick just one video that I've really enjoyed the most, I had fun with the documentary-style diary for Austria based on the Media Wars game. How about you, Nate? Was there one that stood out for you?
Well, we did a few videos about when Cyberpunk 77 came out, and for me, I really enjoyed making that cyberpunk and in board games video. I don't know why. I really enjoyed making it. It was written and recorded and posted basically in one night. But so it was fairly intense. But it was that was probably one of my favorites to revisit. I will go back and watch that again and say, yeah, that turned out fairly well. I mean, was it perfect? No, because I would probably have done more if I had more time.
Yeah.
And then
but
having
the challenge was fun to turn that over in a night. Yes.
And then having the opportunity to interview Jason Matthews, who designed some of my favorite games, Twilight Struggle in 1989 and 1960. That was a nice privilege as well.
Excellent. So I guess since this video is really for the people who keep coming back and watching to our content, we should probably chat about decisions we've made for the channel and the format and why we made those. So Cax, why don't you start that off?
Yeah, so one thing I'm really proud of is that we put our own spin on the usual approach to board game videos. We decided not to have a wall of board games behind us. We always use good mics, we get high quality sound, and we make sure to tell people what each video is going to be about in the first 15 seconds. So we really try to focus on a good hook. How about you, Flash?
Yeah, it took us a little while to really figure out, like I would say probably 6 months, what our main focal areas are. And almost by accident, we discovered that we really like working in the digital medium with the tabletop games. And within that medium, we really like putting together the strategy guides where it's a nice, concise, compact message that we put out. So I think finding our niche was important too. And I feel like everything we do builds towards those strategy guides. But so for me, I love that it took us an entire year, but we finally know who we are and why we do this.
Yeah. And we've also tried to cover off the beaten path games like 1960 maybe, or Labyrinth, or Diplomacy, Imperial Struggle. And for me, our diverse coverage is something else that keeps this interesting for me.
Yeah, and if any of our viewers have questions you'd like to ask about our channel or how we make the videos or choose the videos we do, please feel free to ask in the comments.
Actually, one other thing that Nate, you actually got us started in was queuing up our videos in advance. So
yes,
we usually
Thank God for that.
Yeah, it's usually about a week's worth of videos in advance that we have ready to go. And,
yeah.
But then we can put the videos out on the day we want to. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yes, yeah, and it's really nice so that we're not rushing to post something at a given time or whatever. We can keep a regular schedule so people can know that every day at 11 a.m. there's a video for them. That's I think that's important. So
I guess that means it's time to decide. So NATO, why don't we start with you? Do you think we should keep the channel going?
I think I could confidently say yes to that.
Cax, what's your vote?
Oh, NATO, are you saying we have to do another year, NATO?
Wait, what are we committing to here?
One more year. Yes, I'm definitely in on it.
Oh, that's
Flash, how about you?
Well, I'm outvoted regardless, but I've had a ton of fun. I've really enjoyed the community that we've interacted with, and the thing that keeps me coming back to the channel is that I've got a list the length of my arm of videos that I still want to make, and I think Nate's is the length of I don't know, like 100 arms. So yeah, I'm still in. I'm really enjoying the channel, and I just wonder, do you guys have any goals then or targets you'd like to reach in year 2?
Well, yeah, by the end of this year, I think to have 10,000 subscribers, 10,000 people in our community, I think that would be a great goal to have.
I personally am looking for 1 million views. I would love to see 1 million views.
1
million views. How about you, Flash?
Oh, you know what? I'm just loving what I'm doing day to day. I'm enjoying making these videos. So I just want to keep enjoying each video that I make. So fairly simple. But if you're still watching, you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please help us get to NATO's goal by stabbing that subscribe button now. Thanks so much for watching, and make sure you let us know what other videos you'd like to see in year 2. And this is
Legendary
Tactics.
I can't believe we're doing that ending.
I was going to say, I'm Cax.
I'm NATO.
And together we are Wild Stallions. That's what it is. It's from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I knew it.
No, Legendary Tactics.
Awesome. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.